Welcome to How to Handle the Pain, Lies, Injustice, and Difficult Truths in Your Family History. Genealogy research is a tremendous joy until it is not. So exploring family secrets, scandals, injustices, and other difficult truths can bring up a variety of emotions for us and other members of our family. This session is for people who are exploring family histories that include chattel slavery or racial injustice. Now, if you are here and that does not pertain to you, you are likely to hear other things that are helpful for you, strategies that you can use in dealing with the difficult truths within your family history. Just know that the strategies we're talking about are of those topics, the examples that I will talk about. So in this session, we are going to learn, we're going to confront, talk about why you would confront these difficult truths in your family history. I'm going to offer you 3 strategies, cognitive-based mindfulness coaching techniques. I call them deep roots and bubble wrap, so that you have what it takes to stand in your truth and confront what you're finding. And then we are also I'm going to share some additional resources and tools for support. Okay, so the idea is in this session, you will learn how to use those 3 cognitive-based mindfulness coaching techniques to get unstuck, to find strength, and to create a healing space to confront the difficult truths in your family history. Now, before we begin, I just want to take a moment to let you know that you are not here by chance. You and I both know that researching family history and genealogy is not just a fun hobby. Yes, it's fun, and yet something deeper is happening when you connect with your ancestors. You were called and appointed to do this work. Out of all the places you could have been in this moment, you are here with me. And on behalf of your family, those known and unknown to you, I thank you. I honor, acknowledge, and celebrate you for being open and fully present in this moment. So who am I? All right, so my name is Adrienne Fikes. Nice to meet you. I am a 7th generation Virginian with deep roots in North Carolina as well. One of the branches that I have found in North Carolina does descend from people who were formerly enslaved. Part of my journey in my own family history research has been my 16 Greats Challenge. So along the way, I challenged myself to identify the names of all 16 of my great-great-grandparents. Now, I did a TED Talk about that, and I also do some speaking and encouraging other people to get involved with their family history and to be able to call the names of their ancestors. I'm also a credentialed PCC coach and coach trainer by trade. I am the author of a cognitive-based mindfulness workbook called Finding Your Unspeakable Joy Right There Where You Are. Now, that workbook will be the basis for the conversation that we are having today. And then I am also an NCBH certified adult mental health first aid responder. Okay, so enough about me. Let's talk about these deep roots and bubble wrap. So these 3 strategies, how you see it, revisit the joy, and imagine ahead. They're dealing with the past, the present, and the future. So you get to decide which way you want to go with this. So, as I talked about in North Carolina, I actually found, and what you're seeing is an image there of a estate record that lists one of my great-great-grandparents as a 14-year-old enslaved African American. And he's listed on this record valued at $383. Now, that was a very difficult thing for me to find out. It created a moment where, the enslavement of African Americans went from something that I'd heard about and suspected that I descended from to something very tangible and concrete to say that at some point in his young life, my great-great-grandfather was enslaved by someone, and they only valued his life at $383 American dollars. So when you talk about perspective, let's talk about how you see it. What I want you to do, and we often call this, I call this the orange and blue game. I want you to take a moment to look around where you are, up, down, all around you, behind you, and notice everywhere where you are seeing blue in any shade. Just looking around, blue, 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 blue. And now I want you to close your eyes. I'll be right here. And I want you to think about where you saw orange in the room as you were looking for blue. Now, this strategy, you can open your eyes, and now I want you to take a look around and notice the orange that you didn't see while you were looking for blue. Now, part of the reason why this is a mindfulness technique that I love to do often is it brings me into the present moment. And it also reminds me, just as I had to remind myself as I'm looking at this estate record, that there are really wonderful things that I'm uncovering, knowing my great-great-grandfather's name, and at the same time, there may be really difficult things to reconcile with, knowing that he was enslaved. And they're happening right next to each other. And so I want to encourage you to use the how you see it mindfulness technique as a strategy to be present in the moment and to be allowing and at peace with the idea that there is both things that you are happy to know about and things that you might not be so happy to know about, but they're happening at the same time and they are together. So the next strategy that I want to talk to you about is, we'll call it revisit the joy. So as you are thinking about the things that you may be finding about your family, when you run across a difficult truth about maybe a great-great-grandparent, it may be about, I've discovered at one point that there is questions about whether or not I will ever find one branch of my family because of the records and the way that African American history has been maintained in our country. And so a lot of the reason why I don't know who I am is because I descend from African Americans. But at the same time, there are wonderful stories that I am learning about my ancestors as I research. So I'm learning funny stories about my grandfather and great-great-grandfathers, and I am learning about, even though one of my great-grandfathers dealt with terrible racial injustice in his lifetime, knowing good things about him, finding pictures of him, learning about his life, hearing stories, you can revisit the joy. So this strategy, revisit the joy, is to tell yourself, to write, to speak stories that remind you of the joyful things that you are finding out about your ancestors. So that will take you to the past. Remember the joy, revisit the joy. Now, the third strategy I want to talk to you about is imagining ahead. And what this does is for you to imagine what you would like to create based on what you're learning about your ancestors. What do you want to pass on? Where is your legacy? And instead of that being way far out in the distant future, I want you to think about 6 months from now. And what I want you to do is imagine your life 6 months from now, even with this difficult truth that you've uncovered. And I'm going to give you the 12 life areas, and you can write them down, and then I'll give you further instruction. So the first life area that we have is appearance. Excuse me. We've got appearance, career, family, friends, fun, health, home, money, personal growth, relationship, service, and spiritual. Okay? So you've got appearance, career, family, friends, fun, health, home, money, personal growth, relationship, service, and spiritual. So again, I want you to think about where you'd like to be within the next 6 months. Think about what today's date is that you are here with me. 6 months from now, if you imagine the most important things you'd like to do or experience, and rank those life areas according to priority. When you think about being in this space of doing this deep work, being called and appointed to do this work, there may be some priorities that you need to set in your life, and this exercise helps you to set those priorities. So imagining ahead, revisiting the joy, and how you see it are 3 cognitive-based mindfulness strategies, the past, the present, and the future, that will help you ground yourself. And when you need to shift, to be able to do something to pull your mind into a space where you can deal with what you are feeling and what you are thinking, so that you are in a better headspace, so to speak, to move forward and make purposeful decisions about what to do with the information. So the next thing I want to talk to you about are ways to access more support while you are researching. Now, we have not had a lot of time together today. You are at the beginning of your journey. So what I want you to remember to do are these 3 things. I want you, as you are dealing with these difficult truths, to get into community. Now, that may be your family. That may be the descendants of the people that did harm or were harmed by your ancestors. That may be genealogy and history societies. I am a member of AUGS, the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, the DC chapter, James Walker Dent chapter in DC. And it's a wonderful community of people that are helping me do this research and are supporting as I do this research. So get in community, and there are societies based on locations. There are societies based on families. There are societies based on there are associations and societies, I should say, based on communities. And so get in community. The second strategy for more support, I want you to advocate for root fixes. What do I mean? Systems create predictable results. Chances are there are some emotions, there is some shame, there are some pain, there's maybe some anger, some resentment, there may be some fear, there may be some frustration around what you are uncovering in your family. What I do understand is that, particularly in the United States of America, there were policies that were intentionally put in place to create access and outcomes based on the color of our skin. And as we begin to accept that as truth, we can begin to undo that harm by advocating at the root of the policies that were put in place. So that means civic advocacy. That means speaking out and asking your local and state and federal legislative bodies and governments to begin addressing the problems that were evolving from these difficult truths that we are doing the work to begin facing. Now, the third strategy that I want you to think about, ways to access support while you're researching, is to get help. Qualified professional expertise. Now, that may mean hiring a professional genealogist. I am not a professional genealogist. They are wonderfully qualified professionals, and I'd be more than happy to help you find one. But there are people out here that have years and decades even of experience and specialized techniques to help you do this work. And that may help you. You may think about hiring a professional historian or genealogist as you begin searching for and handling these difficult truths, not just to verify what you are finding, but also to find it faster. If you know someone who knows what they're looking for, but also to have the support and the ideas and the connections that you need to begin thinking about what to do with this information. Okay, now that's hiring for doing the research. When you think about hiring a professional for the emotions and the feelings that this may bring up, I want to talk to you a little bit about asking for professional support. So these are the three basic ways that you may need professional coaching support, or we'll just call it broadly mental health support. So the first area is when you think about preventative maintenance. Now, I'll use the analogy of a car, a high-end, your wonderful, magnificent sports car. I'm not a car person, but if you can imagine that you were a very expensive, very valuable car, the best way to maintain it is to do preventative maintenance. And when we're talking about dealing with the feelings that may be coming up while you are dealing with these difficult truths, we're talking about asking questions like, what's right with you? We're talking about preventative maintenance. So these are strategies to build joy and satisfaction so that when you're bumping up against something that is difficult to the pain, the lies, the injustice that you may have to look into, the preventative maintenance will help you. It works as bubble wrap to wrap you and protect you, so that you have the protection you need to go into this. The second level is basic repairs. So when you're thinking about a car, so it's going to need to be fixed. So there may be some things like you may be on the side of the road with a flat tire. So people will ask what happened to you. So as far as this is concerned, this is talking about when you are having emotions where you are getting stuck or you are wanting to heal some dissatisfaction. So that can be a wonderful time to ask for professional coaching support when you need basic repairs, getting unstuck, dealing with the fear, the anxiety, the shame, the depression even that may be coming up as you uncover your research. And the third way would be to recognize that it is possible that as we are dealing with pain, lies, injustice, and difficult truths, there may be something that touches you in a way that brings up challenges or a crisis in the area of mental health. Now, that is something that is actually beyond my roadside assistance. And what I would do in those areas is to help you find a qualified professional to support you in that area. And so regardless of whether you want preventative maintenance, basic repairs, or something that is beyond roadside assistance, think about how a qualified professional might help you deal with the pain, the lies, the injustice, and the difficult truths in your family history. And so that's what I want you to think about today. I know we didn't have a lot of time, but again, my name is Adrienne Fikes. I am the Soul Power Coach of soulpowercoach.com. I encourage you to continue beginning to look at the pain, lies, injustice, and difficult truth in your family history. And please reach out. You can find me at soulpowercoach.com if there is something else that, any additional questions you have based on this presentation today. And thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate it if you would share feedback and comments, and I will be around to answer questions as well. Right? Take care.